What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me today. I am with the lovely Jess. I'm super excited. Friend from college who is now a stunt performer and doing some amazing, amazing work. For those who don't know me, I am Tiara, aka T, your wine diva. So tonight we are going to jump in and really kind of just learn what it's like to be a stunt performer, get some ideas of what Jess has been working on because she's been doing some great things. And I'm going to be drinking a Merlot while we go through all of this good stuff. So just, Jess, can you take some time to just like introduce yourself and tell people who might not know who you are, exactly who you are and what you do?
Yes, well, as T said, my name is Jess Durham, and I went to Virginia Tech. I graduated in 2011 with a degree in theater arts and cinema. And just shortly after college, I started doing stunts overseas. Actually, I started in the live show industry. And it led to me being a stunt performer for television and film here in Atlanta, where I have been for the last 3 years. And I have to say that the last 3 years have been an absolutely incredible ride. I was not expecting for it to be as insane as it has been, but I have definitely been working my tail off, and I have been lucky enough to be very busy for the past 3 years.
Love it. So how did you like what clicked in your mind that you were like, you know what, I want to get into stunts?
Um, it was a long journey coming. It was having the different skills that I had from the different things that I've done over my entire life, meeting the right people at the right time, and just kind of diving into it. I was a dancer from the time I was 3 till the time I was 22. Had incurred a couple of injuries that I knew wasn't going to make it possible for me to be a prima ballerina. It just wasn't going to happen.
Mhm.
And so when I got injured when I was young, I also started transferring into theater, specifically musical theater, because I could still use my dancing skills for that. And I always loved to sing and act. And so that became my line. So then
Yeah.
I ended up going to college for that. But throughout high school and everything, I was very athletic. I ended up doing some martial arts stuff
Okay.
because I was like, yeah, I like to fight. Let's learn that skill a little bit more. And so had a blast with that. Took martial arts for a few years, dabbled in many things, mastered none of them. And then it was actually a professor at Virginia Tech, Kara Rawlings, who I started taking her stage combat classes
Okay.
and loved them. They were incredible. I got to use my body awareness and my movement skills I had from dance, plus my fighting, plus my acting, and I was like, this is it. This is the mecca. Um, and so she was the one that mentioned stunts for me first. And then I tried it out. I did a little
Mhm.
3-day introduction thing in Chicago. Ended up really enjoying it and kind of having a knack for it. And then that group actually invited me out to Seattle, where I trained with their training crew for 4 weeks and got to do
Wow.
everything. I got to drive, I got to do wires, I got to do fire burns, fight for camera, really get a feel for it and see if it was something that I could hone. Um, After that, I ended up going overseas. They had a connection to a company over there. I was there for the better part of 3 years, on and off, working on different shows. And then I landed in Atlanta, and here we are. So, like I said, it was meeting the right people at the right time, using all the skills that I had sort of accumulated over my life. Because I always loved performing,
Mhm.
but nothing quite felt fulfilling enough to be like, oh, this is it. This is the mecca.
Right.
Dance was always amazing, but there was an empty space, and theater and musical theater always felt amazing, and I loved it. But there was always that little thing in the back of your mind that you're like, there's something else. You love performing, but this isn't the right medium. And
Mhm.
I started doing stunts, and I got to use all of those things. Um, and that's when it clicked, and you're like, this is it. This is the aspect of performance that you're supposed to be in.
I love that. And I love how you said that you tried different things and you did different things. Because I think so often people get like in their mindset of, okay, well, I've been doing dance or I've been like studying ballet since I'm 3. I have to be a ballerina. Like there is no way for me to like step out of that box that we've kind of created for ourselves. And I think it's totally okay. And I think it's great to dabble in different things or, like taste the different wines, so to speak, if you're in keeping with my brand. But like, it's so good to just figure out what suits you personally so that you can like really truly find what clicks, what's your mecca, and what's amazing for you. For someone that's like interested in maybe dabbling in stunts, where do you recommend people start?
Oh my gosh, that's both an easy and impossible question to answer, because if you put 10 stunt people in a room, if you put 100 stunt people in a room, they would all have a different path, a different story, a
Mm-hmm.
different background, a different skill set, and they all ended up in the same place. Um, I will say that, especially for something like stunts, you will figure out quickly if it is a passion of yours, because yes, what we do is fun, and yes, we get to have a blast at work, but we also do hit the ground hard. We are going at 100 miles a minute. We have a lot of responsibility on our shoulders when it comes to the rehearsals and the shows, and keeping ourselves safe, our team safe, and our actors safe, plus everyone on set, because sometimes we do stunts big enough to affect the entire production.
Mm-hmm.
Um, find some way to dabble in it. I don't know. Take a martial art class. See if you even like fighting. A lot of judo classes will let you hit the ground. Figure out if you hit the ground and you're like, nope, I'm done. Stunts is not for you then. Um, and find a training group. I know there are hubs, but you will have to travel. I had to travel when I first got started. I lived in Virginia. I had to travel up to Maryland to find any training groups, and then slowly weasel my way down the into Atlanta, and just sort of passing by. I found a crew in Virginia, found a crew in Tennessee, and then finally landed in Atlanta, where it's a hub. But you just gotta train, look up videos, pick up a sword or a staff or collie sticks, and look up training videos and see if it's something, if you understand how your body's supposed to move. Um, and just find a training crew online. Facebook is an incredible place to find colleagues and potential training
Mm-hmm.
partners. But you don't, I mean, you could be have a million different backgrounds. You could be a gymnast, a dancer, a martial artist, a parkour artist. Who knows? You could be anything.
So, oh, I love it. I love it. So have you been able to meet some really cool people in the projects that you've been doing, like famous people that, all of us know and love?
Oh, absolutely. As a stunt performer, especially if I'm doubling, you work directly with the actor or actress that you are doubling. You are teaching them choreography. You're talking to them about what the action is going to be. Because even if they're performing it, a lot of the times they like to get your opinion, your expertise.
Mhm.
You're there for the action, but sometimes they do perform it. You're padding them up, but keeping them safe. You're putting their harness on if they're doing any sort of wire work. And if you are doubling someone for a long time, like a run of a show, a big movie, or if you double them multiple times, you start developing a relationship, and they become, colleagues and friends, and it becomes a totally different feeling. Yes, you know that they're a celebrity, and you know that they have millions of fans out there, but they are doing the same job you are. They are there for the same result, and they become more like a coworker than a celebrity.
That's so awesome. So how do you go about becoming a double for someone?
Honestly, it has a lot to do with first off, your physical attributes. You have to look like the person. It's not always about your face looking like them, but you need to be the general height and size and shape body wise. And then they have to like the way you move. You are portraying them, and
Mhm.
so they want to know what you're going to look like on film. So a lot of times we have to send in audition tapes or go in for an audition or send in our stunt reels or something like that. And then other than that, it's a lot of word of mouth. One coordinator talking to another coordinator saying, "Oh yeah, no, Jess did great for us. I think she, work great for you guys." And then if I'm a good match for the actress, then I'm in.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I'm like pulling up your IMDb and let's kind of see what's some of the things that you've worked on. So first thing that pops out is like Avengers, Captain Marvel, like the Marvel universe. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. Marvel has been very kind to me. I think I'm six deep now in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Um, it all started on Thor Ragnarok. I got to do some reshoots for that. And that to this day was probably my hardest day on set. It was a billion degrees in the sun with like heavy wig and costume and tons of people. And that was a very hard day. And I loved every second of it. Um, what else did we do? Infinity Wars and Endgame, of course, being
Hmm.
absolutely insane projects to work on. Grew so much as a performer, met some incredibly talented stunt people and fight coordinators, and got to work under Monique Ganderton, who was Marvel's first female stunt coordinator.
Oh, wow.
She is a trailblazer.
That's amazing.
Opening doors for women in stunts. And she is also Charlize Theron's double from Atomic Blonde, which was an incredibly action packed movie. She is incredible. Did what other? Oh my, Punisher, the TV
Hmm.
series, season two. Reshoots for Captain Marvel out in LA. And I am blanking on everything else. Which I guess is a good
That's amazing. That is so amazing. I love all of it. So how often do you travel for work?
um, Being in Atlanta, I do get really lucky that a lot of projects are here for at least most of the time. Of course, a lot of
Mhm.
projects will split their times between different locations, but moving to Atlanta was a strategic one. As much as I love to travel, you have to have a home base. It's
Oh yeah.
just, with what we do, it's so exhausting, but physically, mentally, emotionally, it's everything. It takes everything you have, and to be able to live where you work for the most part is great. Now, that being said, of course, travel out to LA. Oh my goodness, been to Kentucky, Alabama, the Carolinas, other places. It's crazy where all randomly out in the universe things are filmed.
Hmm.
And I would say I probably am traveling maybe 2 months collectively out of the year because you do a
Okay.
week here, a couple days there. So it's I've been very lucky. Now, my current project may be traveling more, but we'll see.
Fair enough. So do you think that like Atlanta is basically where people like actors really should be migrating towards to get more work?
Um, like actors starting out in the industry,
Hmm.
I would say it's not a bad move for a couple reasons. There are still a lot of non-union projects happening, and so you can really build up that competitive resume because a lot of actors they get very excited and they want to join the union and they think that's the mecca, but then they join the union and then you are in the same union as Scarlett Johansson and you are in the
Hmm.
same union as Julia Stiles and all of these incredible stars that have hundreds of projects under their belt. And in theory, you are now competing with them. Uh,
Hmm.
but then take them out of the picture, and you're still competing with these Union Day players who have years and years of training, years and years of experience, set experience, all kinds of things that it takes time to get. And Atlanta is a great place to build that competitive resume, then join the union, and then stay in Atlanta, be a working actor, go to LA. LA is a lot more saturated still, I would say, with people. But for the last 2 years, Atlanta has actually filmed more film and television per capita than Los Angeles has.
Oh yeah, so true, so true. I was super excited when we moved here, and then I was like, oh, there's like I'm not seeing as much work as I was seeing like in the DC area, or it's like, oh, everything's being shot in Atlanta. That's cool. So even if I were to get this gig, I still have to travel to get there. Which is interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about like the union and like the difference between non-union and being union, and what are the benefits of each?
Well, as an actor, it's totally different for us as stunt performers. Even though we are in the same union, actors and stunt performers are both in SAG-AFTRA.
Mhm.
The way that the union works for both of us is completely different. The stunt performers are a tiny little portion of what makes up SAG-AFTRA, and so a lot of the time our voices are not heard because the way that we work under a contract is different than an actor would.
Okay.
However, um, if you think of SAG-AFTRA as a blanket, there are tons of projects that are SAG. And once you are SAG, you cannot work non-union anymore. That is global rule one. And so think of all the projects you're cutting yourself out of when you're first getting started. Um, of course, being union is amazing because then you start working towards your pension and you start working towards your health insurance and you're protected, so to say, in different aspects because you have become part of the guild. But again, going back to that competitive resume, you really need to be strategic and don't be. I appreciate everyone's gung ho-ness and they really want to get in, but you really need to slow everything down. Think about your long haul, your track.
Hmm.
Get that training while you're still non-union. Get the set experience on non-union projects. They're going to be a little less intense, a little more laid back, a little more room for error, but you're still going to come out with this incredibly professional project. And then you're going to have one more credit on your resume, another clip for your reel. And then once you have those, those pieces to really become a strong actor, a strong competitive performer, that's when it would be a good idea for you to join the union. But if you do it too soon, a lot of the times it can hurt more than it can help.
For sure. For sure. So for those who are like building up their resume, what do you think a strong resume would look like before you would move over to SAG-AFTRA?
Oh man, it's been so long since I've had to think about like the acting side of it. Um, because of course numbers is great. People they want to see project after project after project because to them that says experience. That shows that you are someone worth hiring, especially if you can get a couple of the same directors on there. Of course, then they love to work with you and you didn't do anything to get kicked off set because they've hired you again. Diversity, playing a lot of different kinds of characters, a lot of different kinds of projects. Um, and they would like to see different kinds of training. I know if I was on the casting director side, as much training as possible. That's including taking, a stunt class or two or a fight class or two, being an actor who is proficient enough in action that if you're hired in a low budget non-union action movie, they're not going to have the budget for a full stunt team. And for you to be able to hold your own as an actor who can perform action, that speaks volumes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So when you're creating a reel, what do you think about in terms of what clips am I going to put into this, and how often do you update it?
Oh my goodness, not as often as I should. As a stunt performer myself. And I would say that, as a stunt performer, my reel needs to show my strengths. And I need to grab whoever's watching it in the first 10 seconds, or I've already
Hmm.
lost the. So I need to put the most entertaining things, the cleanest, the biggest stunts right there at the beginning. Don't save the best for last in this case, people. You got to grab their attention or else they're going to move on to the next person. And be true. Be true to what you can do. Don't put a take that looks incredible, but you know that took you 20 takes to get. You need to be able to perform under pressure, especially for stunts. A lot of the times you'll see these incredible scenes in that amazing fight, and then, that person may not perform as well in person. And that's because in their reel, they had 20, 30, 40 takes to be able to get that fight down.
Mm-hmm.
Thing with acting, make sure that the pieces you're putting in there are things that are true to you. If you did, some Shakespearean piece and that's not your forte, and you had to record that over and over and over and over again to get it, maybe leave that out of your reel, because it's not going to be a good show when you show up and you're trying to perform a sonnet or something, and it's clearly not your forte.
Right.
So,
right.
That's where the diversity in projects come in. Show them how wide ranged you are. And if you're not, again, go train, figure out what you are strong at and work at what you're not, and put it on display to the best. Shine your brightest light.
For sure. I totally 100% agree with that. And like a little financial tip, those trainings are tax deductible. If this is you're an independent contractor, when you're becoming an actor, it's all of the stuff independent. You're not an employee. So, get the receipts and file that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I had another question. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it had something to do with your IMDb. So how often do you update it, your IMDb?
How often do I, or how often should I?
Should you? That's a good thing.
Well, just like my resume, I should update it after every project. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I get a little busy and my brain gets a little scrambled, and I'm like, oh, I've done 5 things and they are not on my IMDb, or they are not on my resume. And so sometimes I do get behind, but it's pretty simple to update. A lot of the times the project itself, the producers will put it on your IMDb.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't, but you can still request it on IMDb. They'll do their research, and then they will either put it on there and say uncredited if for some reason you didn't get credited on the project. That happened to me one time. You'll actually see it on my IMDb. It's for Infinity Wars. It says uncredited, but that's because they put my name as Jessica Durham in the credits. So if you go actually into my IMDb and push that credit and look through the stunt performers on Infinity Wars, it says Jess Durham, parentheses, credited as Jessica Durham.
I see that. I totally see that.
So, but because a lot of the times are changing. I send resumes. When I first got started, I was sending 30 resumes a day over email, hard copies, hustling, going to sets that I could, please sir, hire me, that kind of thing. And then once I kind of got my feet underneath me, it became more about word of mouth, other performers, other coordinators giving my name out, people hearing about you, and then people kind of checking and validating what they've heard through IMDb, going, oh yeah, look at how many projects they've done. Oh, look, they've worked for this coordinator this many times. Let me call up that coordinator, my friend, my buddy, see what they have to say. So I should be better about keeping that updated, because that's sort of my living live resume.
Yeah, it's like, social media, or your space of your own personal, it's like your billboard, your own personal billboard.
Your photos up, they can really get a sense of who I am as a stunt performer.
Love that. So you were talking about the hustle and submitting 30 different, your resume to 30 different people every single day. And I totally can second that. Where do you look for for jobs, or at least for starting out? Where did you look?
Um, Again, the internet has become an absolutely incredible resource. Facebook has a couple of pages that actually are for stunt performers where coordinators or assistants will post job postings saying, oh, we are looking for a 5 foot something or other, however many pounds person that can drive a big rig. And they will give an email and, you can submit that way. There is a document that you can opt into having sent to you called Stunt Contact, which
Mhm.
will send all of, well, we'll send a portion of some of the projects that are filming in the next couple of months, where it's filming, who has it, a contact for the production office, and sometimes for the stunt coordinator. So you can send it in that way. And sometimes you get friends who are like, "Hey, I'm on this project today. The coordinator is keen for hustlers. Here's where we are," and you can go in person when it's a chill day on set and actually go in and meet the stunt coordinator. Some coordinators like,
Awesome.
some don't. Either way, that's totally cool. You find out who does and who doesn't. And you apologize to the ones that don't. And you never do it again. But the ones who do like it, they really, I think they respect the old school hustle that shows, the go get 'em sort of attitude.
That's awesome. Um, in terms of working in stunts, like how often, like what's like your workout regimen, and how do you stay fit and that you don't hurt yourself?
That's a that is a very great question. I sometimes there are shows that I don't have a choice. The show itself is a workout. That's a lot of those Marvel shows. You're a superhero. You are constantly working out, and you are working out while you're there. And I'm currently on a show where we have a gym where we train because it's just what the show requires.
Right.
I am very guilty of having several shows in a row that may not be so much skill based but performance based. And I am guilty of letting my training sort of fall to the wayside. And then when I do get another project that's skill based, I'm kind of having to like really rev those engines to get them going again, as opposed to doing more of a maintenance. And then it's easier to get that going again.
Right.
So I work out as often as I can. I have a gym in my garage. I have a membership to a gym. I have classes that I like to go take. I have training partners that are in stunts that I get to fight, kicks and mitts and boxing, and weapons work. So you find ways to do it, even if it's just standing in front of a mirror and swinging a sword or spinning a bow staff, or just throwing hands just to see, make sure your lines are clean. Any training is better than no training at all.
For sure. And I guess my final question is like, how often do like people get hurt in this industry? Because I know that's like something that my friends' parents are kind of like concerned about. They're like, oh, that's great that you want to do this, but like you're gonna like hurt yourself. It's like sport. It's literally a sport.
Yes, by nature, what we are doing is inherently dangerous. Now there are days where I am doing nothing more than running for the actress, because maybe it's running in high heels, or it's running in uneven ground, and if they roll an ankle, the project's over. If I roll an ankle, they'll just pull in the next stunt double and ship me off to pasture. And then there are the unfortunate times where people can actually lose their lives doing what it is we do. And then everything in between those two things. There are broken bones, there are sprained ankles, there are head injuries, there's organ damage, there's everything can happen. We do some dangerous stuff, but we train our bodies to prevent injuries. We train our minds for the skills to not only be able to perform it, but to know what to do when something is going wrong. And to recognize when something isn't quite right and either adjusting or stopping the whole production. I will
Mhm.
shut down a multi-million dollar production if something doesn't look right. I will call abort, I will call hold, I will call stop if I see that either myself a team member, an actor, or anyone on the crew, or even a civilian, if we're filming on location and a bogey is walking through and we're doing a car scene, shut it down.
Right.
And then we put our trust in our team. We put our trust in our rigging team, the people that are rigging our wires, things like that. And we trust the skill of ourselves and the people that we are working with. I have been lucky to not have too many major injuries. I don't come out unscathed. Lots of bruises, lots of scrapes, some sprains, um, knocking on wood, but it is inherently dangerous, but so is getting in a car going down the highway at 80 miles an hour. You
Oh,
don't
for sure.
for the accidents to happen, but they do happen, and all you can do is be knowledgeable that what you are doing is dangerous and be prepared for anything and everything.
Got it. Love it. What has been like your top things that you've worked on?
Oh my goodness. And Avengers Endgame was an incredible project. It had hundreds of stunt performers. It had some of the most incredible actors who are also incredible people and were absolutely wonderful to work with, because they understood that a movie like that is not quite the same without the stunt performers.
Mm-hmm.
They were super appreciative of everything we did, worked very closely with us, were very patient with us, and I had an absolute blast. Grew as a performer immensely from that. It's just a different pace. It is a different pace working on a project like that. But I've also worked on smaller projects that I had a blast on. Like there is what is Doom Patrol, which is a DC comic
Okay.
live streaming that you can watch on the DC streaming app,
Very
which is
cool.
absolutely bananas show. Like it makes no sense, and it's really funny to watch. And I was never bored on that. I wore prosthetics almost every time I was there and got to play some crazy character and be in some crazy scenario, and had a blast every time I was there. So I it's so hard when people ask like what's your favorite stunt or what's your favorite project? It's hard to answer because if I'm at work, I am on cloud 9. If I'm doing stunts, whether it's, talking my actor through the action, or if I'm, doing some high flying wire gag, driving a whatever, if I'm doing the big action, I'm doing what I love. And so every day at work is my favorite day at work.
I love that. That is like a beautiful way to end. Like I feel like that's one of my biggest things is that when people find what they love and they're able to make it their job, like you're never really working a day in your life. You love what you do, and that's really what I like. What we should all be living for, and like what we gauge success as is being happy in what we're doing. So, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we hop off?
Um, go follow that dream. I mean, had you asked me 5 years ago what I would be doing, stunts in Atlanta on major motion pictures and television would not have been the answer I gave you. Um, it seemed far out of reach, and I thought, oh, I'd be able to make it like a cool hobby. It is my career. It is my living. It is my only source of income. It is what I live for. It is what I eat, drink, and sleep every single day of my life. Even when I'm not on a project, I have to train and keep up with it and keep an eye out for what the next job is. And even my worst day on set, I still know that I absolutely love what I am doing. And so if you have a dream in your head or a passion that you think is out of reach, do not think that until you try. You have to try. Because if I am able to do what I am doing, you can do what it is that you love and what you want to do, and you can make it your career and your livelihood.
Amazing. Yes, give it a try, do it, go for it, love it. Jess, thank you so, so much for your time. I love it. If anyone has any questions or comments or whatever, like drop them in the comments below. And if anyone wants to kind of follow you and see what you're working on and what's going on, what's the best way that they can kind of like check you out?
I am terrible at social media. If anyone takes a look at my Instagram, you will see I don't think I've posted since June. But everyone, and we also have to be very careful about what we post and what we don't. However, you can find me on Facebook under Jess Durham, Durham. And then my handle on Instagram is Jess D Stunts, and you will not find many things on those pages, but a lot of the times I do get tagged in things on Facebook and on Instagram that other people have posted, and then my audience can see what I've done. I'm very, very bad at keeping up with social media.
I love it. Thank you so, so much for joining me. And thanks everyone for watching or listening. I so appreciate it. Love you lots.